So in today's video, we're going to quickly speedrun new licensing news on every major license that isn't in DBD. It's been a while since I've posted and all the giant franchises have been active. It feels like we're getting a much better idea of which license holders want a place in Dead by Daylight and which really aren't that interested at this time. Hey everyone, it's Schmuckles. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to this channel if you want to see more content like this. I'm also live on Twitch right now streaming Dead by Daylight for the first time in I think 2 months. The link for that is in the description below. Reminder that the next chapter, chapter 30, is confirmed by the devs to be a licensed killer paragraph, meaning that there's no new map, no new survivor, but a licensed killer is coming for chapter 30. This video is going to overview new news on every major license, not necessarily speculating what's coming for chapter 30. Though some of the information in this video could be used as justification for what's most likely for chapter 30. But we're going to be talking about all different kinds of franchises like Friday the 13th, which we know is not coming for chapter 30, and we'll go over that later in this video. Dweet posted this on Twitter today, actually while I'm recording this video today on October 13th, 2023. Dweet said they have revealed that they will do a live stream for the next chapter of DBD very soon, in quotes.
We thank you again for this. There are more streams coming, so stay tuned for the chapter live stream that's going to happen very soon. And that's it. Happy Halloween, everyone.
Yeah, happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
The frontrunner for chapter 30 has still got to be Predator. My friend Gorgera posted this information on Twitter about the alien skin that was released with chapter 29's live release. Gorgera kind of posted about this Grid Xenomorph skin that came out, which is actually from Aliens vs Predator. This is Grid. Grid is from Aliens vs Predator. Aliens vs Predator is a different license than Predator and Alien. Behavior is using a license from Alien vs Predator in DBD, which means that Predator is most likely our next chapter. There was also this possible leak for the portrait for the next chapter, which you can see is kind of just like a Predator portrait. This is a possible chapter 30 spoiler. Gorgera, who receives leaks and also fake leaks from time to time, posted this and said, I was DM'd this on Twitter today recently, and no, this isn't any bait or shitpost. It looks pretty good for a fake, so I'll post it and let you make your own decisions. Something like this doesn't seem actually very definite, but it is worth mentioning in this video. Like, this could be a possible leak, but it seems like take it with a grain of salt. I don't actually know if DBD Leaks has gotten behind that as a leak, but it's worth mentioning. Some new news came out recently with Matthew Cote's interview with the King and Polyester.
Has there been any license deals that have fallen through? As in, you guys get everything going,
Yes.
maybe even...
Yes.
Ooh.
Matthew Cote confirmed in an interview with the King that Dead by Daylight actually lost the license privately behind the scenes in the past. It was kind of crazy to hear this news. When I heard this, I was thinking of like, which licenses could this possibly be? Right away, I was thinking one possibility is that it could have been a major license, like a Candyman Amazon deal that fell through. Or maybe somehow a Pennywise Warner Bros deal was botched during the use it or lose it window for Warner Bros. I was like, heck, maybe even a Five Nights at Freddy's deal was privately lost. Cote said in this interview that the contracts were signed and the content was made for the license but was never released.
Yeah, that hurts.
There's one signed deal that we never released the content of.
Signed. Ooh.
Now I gotta be honest, I'm a little bit confused by this interview now because I was gonna argue that this lost license was most likely For Honor. There's kind of 4 possibilities for what this lost license could be, but I was thinking For Honor because Matthew Cote offered to tell King and Polly the license in private.
I can tell you in private, maybe one day. Ask me again.
Okay,
All right.
write that down.
And I was thinking if this was possibly a license that could potentially come into the game in the future, there's no way Matthew Cote would disclose that to Fog Whispers. To me, it seemed like For Honor was a pretty solid guess because the other 3 options that I listed here would all be potential future licenses. So I kind of had a segment of this video justifying why I think that the For Honor Night turned original was the option that Cote was talking about. But then this morning on Twitter, Matthew Cote responded to my tweet and said option 4, which is none of these. I'm not sure if he's memeing by saying 4 here or if he's being totally serious. If he's being honest by saying here that none of these are the license that Behavior lost, he is pretty much telling us that the Stranger Things Rainbow Room leak was fake. It's hard to tell if he's just joking around or not by saying 4. If he is being honest, to me he's kind of confirming that the Rainbow Room leak for Stranger Things is actually fake. Since their Rainbow Room is over a year old, that map should already be in the game or it should be considered a scrapped deal. Matthew Cote is saying that they didn't lose that license though by that response. It's kind of interesting that Cote here is also saying that Predator turned into Skull Merchant is not the lost license that he was talking about. To me, that kind of seems like a stronger case that Predator's coming in for chapter 30, because now there'd really be no reason to think that we'd have a problem getting that license. I know people want an update on the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise. We kind of covered this discussion in a previous video. The movie is right around the corner. Jason Blum did an interview about it recently.
This is based on a video game and very, very complicated lore. and I've been working on it. I've worked on this movie longer than anything else we've ever done. I worked on it, it's been 8 or 9 years since I first met Scott Cawthorn, who created this, and he's a wildly creative genius, and he lives in Texas, and it was very, very important to him that it be just so. We went through 8 directors and 15 scripts, and I'm very, very proud we finally got the movie.
It's really been a project that's been in the works for a very long time, making sure that they're getting all the details right. And this really does support the idea of everything that we know about Scott, where he doesn't want to release content related to the franchise unless it's absolutely perfect. There's a journalist kind of questioning whether FNAF would ever join Dead by Daylight, because it is a constant discussion that people are having. They pretty much said both sides have kind of been silent about it for years, but they did kind of catch a quote from Dave Richard where he said that every worthy, bloodthirsty creature has a space in the world of the entity. On September 7th of this year, the same dev, Dave Richard, responded to someone's question on this behavior Q&A about Dead by Daylight. Will Five Nights at Freddy's ever be in Dead by Daylight in the near future? And Dave Richard said, never say never. People were talking all about this. This is crazy to actually see a Dead by Daylight dev acknowledge Five Nights at Freddy's. There's kind of 2 ways to interpret this. One way that I saw people saying was like, this is the guy who leaked the plague. Like, he kind of spoiled the surprise about the plague. He spoiled things in the past. Maybe he's accidentally slipping up here and spoiling something about what's coming in the future.
The Huntress is during World War I, so she's actually our oldest in time character. Actually, spoiler, for chapter 11, we're actually, if everything goes to plan, introduce our killer that is the furthest in the past by a long shot.
That's crazy shit that you just blurted out there.
Spoiled.
I'll have to deal with that.
It's amazing.
I do see what people are saying about Dave Richard and what he's done in the past, but I think that the behavior devs are very careful nowadays. You know, Dave Richard publicly saying something that could be interpreted as a leak, I kind of find unlikely. It's not really the same thing as him accidentally saying something in the moment versus like clicking send on something he wrote out. My interpretation of Dave Richard acknowledging this is that probably means that Five Nights at Freddy's is not coming to this game anytime soon. It is an exciting thing for Dave Richard to say never. I mean, at the very least, they're acknowledging that they might be okay with the idea of FNAF, even though there's some controversy surrounding Scott Cawthon in that franchise. I'm not even necessarily saying I agree with the controversies or like necessarily taking a stance on it, but we've had Fog Whisperers come forward and say like, this guy, you know, we shouldn't have his property in the game. So having a behavior dev say never to Five Nights at Freddy's is really a good thing for people that want Five Nights at Freddy's and Dead by Daylight. It kind of confirms to me, I agree with this post, that the devs do have an interest in getting it in the game. I don't think Dave Richard would have commented this if this is something that they were working on behind the scenes right now. The devs would not say anything that could be interpreted as some kind of leak or revealing what's coming up next. At least for the Dead by Daylight devs, I don't think that they would do that. We know that chapters take about 8 to 12 months to develop, so we were talking about the possibility of Five Nights at Freddy's coming in for their anniversary next year. I think that'd end up being chapter 34 or 35. It seems like there's not really anything in the works right now, at least just based off of this information. This interpretation of this information is kind of my interpretation of it. Like I said before, nothing is really absolute about the situation. I'm kind of just making educated guesses based off of actual information that's out there. For the Friday the 13th franchise, actually the King in his interview with Matthew Cote very recently, Cote confirmed that they're not able to get that license right now. So Matthew Cote kind of confirmed point blank in that interview, which was very recent, that Friday the 13th is not in the works right now. So that means that Jason is not coming to Dead by Daylight for at least another 8 to 12 months. That situation is very strange to me. We're going to get a little bit more into it later in this video, but on October 2nd, there was an article posted saying that Blumhouse is eager to resurrect Jason Voorhees in the Friday the 13th franchise, having worked on their dark magic of the 500 million grossing Halloween series. In the forthcoming The Exorcist Believer, Blumhouse Productions are turning their attention towards another dormant horror franchise, Friday the 13th. While doing the rounds for this weekend's Exorcist sequel, Blumhouse producer Ryan Turek was asked by Inverse whether there are any other horror franchises that they'd bring back from the dead. Turek responded by saying, Jason Blum and I are definitely in agreement that Friday the 13th is the thing that we would love to get our hands on. I really want to go back to the basics. You don't need too many ingredients for a Friday the 13th film. You need a summer camp, you need campers, and you need Jason Voorhees in a hockey mask. Listen, I've gone on the record saying that Halloween is the ultimate slasher film for me, he continued. That's my favorite slasher film of all time, but Friday the 13th as a franchise is just one that I bow down to. I just love everything about it, and if we were able to live in both worlds like we do with Halloween, then to be able to live at Camp Crystal Lake for a while would be so incredible. Jason Blum's working on the Five Nights at Freddy's movie, the Dead by Daylight movie, and currently trying to get the Friday the 13th reboot as well. So, interesting interesting tree of connections because Matthew Cote and Dead by Daylight are definitely well networked with Jason Blum. On October 13th this year, Friday the 13th, which is actually the day that I'm recording this video right now, the Friday the 13th franchise news Twitter commented this. So this was on Friday the 13th, and they said, "It's frustrating to have another date arrive with no new news of a new movie or update on the Crystal Lake series. Some things I know and am aware of, but I cannot discuss publicly, and some things I do not know. There are a lot of discussions and projects in the works. There is one in particular that I'm very excited to see come to fruition and think fans will really enjoy. I just hope everyone can try and keep some positivity while we continue to wait, and if you enjoy the films thus far, you will be rewarded, I promise. Wishing you all a happy Friday the 13th. And remember, we write about Friday the 13th year-round, not just on this unlucky day." So I don't know what they're alluding to here. It seems like they might have some inside knowledge that happens from time to time with news outlets. They get inside information that they're not able to share. We're getting so much mixed information about this franchise, right? Like, we had potential leaks from the music composer of Friday the 13th that there is a new video game in the works. Matthew Cote said that Behavior is not able to acquire the license to bring it to Dead by Daylight. I'm not sure exactly how that would be possible. I'm not sure if the leaks are fake for that new video game, or if there is a new video game in the works, and for whatever reason, the license holders don't want to license Jason into Dead by Daylight. There's three questions that come to mind in this kind of logical process. One is, can they license Jason into video games? Two is, does Behavior want Jason in Dead by Daylight? And three is, are the license holders okay with licensing Jason into Dead by Daylight? Behavior definitely wants Jason in Dead by Daylight. In order for Jason to come to Dead by Daylight, the answer to all three of these questions have to be yes. If that leaked game actually is happening behind the scenes and that leak was true, that would mean that yes, Jason is licensable into video games. But I'm not going to say that the answer is yes, because maybe like that was a discussed project that they just didn't actually execute. That kind of thing actually kind of happens a lot. Maybe that was just like a proposed plan or something that people wanted to do that kind of broke down behind the scenes. I don't really know. It does seem like the license holders want Jason in DVD, but I'm not 100% sure on that either. All I can really say is that we're just gonna have to wait and see if any new news or leaks comes out about that franchise. But nonetheless, going over the information of where everything's at with that franchise is an interesting discussion. For Pennywise, we're still kind of waiting to see if Behavior is able to get that license before the use it or lose it window ended for Warner Bros., in which case Pennywise to be Chapter 30, though that does not seem what's most likely. So at this point, we'd have to get Pennywise through Stephen King, it seems, unless Warner Bros. Renegotiates contracts with Stephen King. There's no record of that happening, actually. On September 25th of this year, Behavior Interactive actually announced a collaboration on their Twitter with Warner Bros. Games. They collaborated with Warner Bros. Games on the production of Mortal Kombat 1. So people were kind of wondering, like, hey, does this mean that they, been working with Warner Bros. Behind the scenes and maybe a Pennywise deal is actually happening? I'm not really sure. Like, these kinds of things can absolutely mean that, but it doesn't seem like that's what's most likely right now. We've kind of talked over the status of every license, and we're painting a pretty clear picture that Predator seems most likely, meaning that Pennywise is going to have to wait. So we're kind of just going to wait and see if there's more information that comes out about Warner Bros., Behavior, and Pennywise. For the Slenderman franchise, we have the remastered version of Slender the Arrival coming out very soon. The most interesting piece of speculation, or just like licensing information that I have about the Slenderman franchise, is that Blue Owl Studios reached out to me privately and said, hey, you can access the new content early and post it on your YouTube channel and kind of get a new first look at the Slenderman game. And I'm like, bro, I'm literally a Dead by Daylight content creator. Why are you hitting me up to look at a Slenderman thing? Like, is there something going on here that I don't know that you're not saying? Like, the fact that they're taking an interest to a Dead by Daylight content creator, I find kind of interesting. I actually did not take them up on that offer because I've been taking a break on content creation, but I was like, okay, Blue Owl Studios definitely going to be in contact with Eric Knudsen and possibly in contact with Mythology Holdings, and maybe even own their own version of Slenderman, hitting up a Dead by Daylight YouTuber to showcase the Slenderman content. But who knows, maybe they're just like all of his subscribers are horror fans and it's an overlapping audience. I don't know, to me that kind of shows real interest from Blue Owl Studios of at least making Dead by Daylight fans aware of the Slenderman IP. Anyways, make sure to like this video and subscribe to this channel if you want to see more content like this, or if you want to follow these ever-changing situations with these licenses. There's almost always new content coming out about all of these franchises, whether it's coming from movie studios or filmmakers or game devs, and I always like to make videos kind of just going over the information and raising these interesting questions of what could be next for Dead by Daylight. And reminder, I'm also live on Twitch right now, streaming Dead by Daylight for the first time in about 2 months. Link for that in the description below. That does it for this video. Goodbye.